Good Monday morning. This is the Great Basin Smoke Dispersion Briefing for this Monday, December 19th. We'll take a look at our recent precipitation over the past 7 days. On the left-hand side, you can see a fairly wet period. Areas in the green for a shade are a ½ inch to close to an inch, and areas in the yellow are anywhere from 1.5 inches to over 2 and even 3 inches in some parts of Idaho and into the Tetons and the Wasatch Range. Only dry spots down towards the Vegas area. You can see on the right-hand side, most of this precipitation given by the purple to bluish shades is well above normal. Here's a look at the water vapor satellite imagery, and we can see on the imagery that we have low pressure off the southern California Baja coast with high pressure centered just a bit further north. Overall, this high pressure ridge is building in, giving us a clear period for the present moment, but we have a pretty strong jet stream with storminess across the Pacific Northwest, which will push into the Great Basin, already pushing into Idaho, pushing southwards into Utah and Nevada as we head into the midweek period. Here's a look at today's upper level map. On the left-hand side, you can see the Great Basin outlined through here in the bright white. And you can see this next storm system that pushes into the Pacific Northwest, pushes into much of Idaho and Wyoming and far northern areas of Nevada and Utah. Drier further south, but some light precipitation cloud cover in these northern areas. On the right-hand side, the problem this time of year with the sun angle being so low, we get very little in the way of daytime heating, so inversions in the morning tend to last quite a bit through the day. So you can see areas in purple through here are very poor air quality conditions, improving a bit as you head to the southern third of Nevada. Breaking it down into transport winds on the left-hand side, very light winds across much of the Great Basin, a little stronger across the Arizona Strip and in parts of Idaho. Mixing heights vertically quite poor, where you see these areas of white and light purple. Now looking at tomorrow's map on the left-hand side, you can see that front pushing through the northern portions of the Great Basin with clouds and probably some snow showers, maybe 1 to 3 inches worth. Drier air further to the south. And again, same story, poor air quality due to the low sun angle and also the cloud cover, which will limit the daytime heating, which tends to burn off the inversions during the morning hours. That will not be happening in a lot of areas. We can see that transport winds get a little stronger across parts of Nevada and into the higher terrain of Utah, and are quite strong across portions of Idaho. Mixing heights also good in Idaho, so for burning conditions, air quality in the mountainous terrain in southern and central Idaho should be okay, but once you get into Nevada and Utah, the inversions will be quite long lasting. Looking at Wednesday's map, we have higher pressure and drier air pushing back in behind the front. The front's moisture will be down into southern and southeastern portions of Utah. And looking on the right-hand side, the area in purple shrinks a little bit behind this area, but that's because of sunshine building in, so air quality perhaps a little bit better across portions of central Nevada and parts of Utah by midweek. And breaking it down, transport winds strongest across parts of eastern and southern Nevada into Utah, diminishing a bit in Idaho from previous days. And mixing heights, vertical mixing, best across our southern areas, where there'll be some sunshine in the front, mixing things up a little bit. Still quite poor across northern Nevada and continuing into portions of Idaho and into Wyoming. Now, the National Weather Service does its own special clearing index, which forecasts both transport winds and mixing heights in a different manner for Utah. You can see that poor conditions today and tomorrow, except a little bit better across the northern areas, and then improvement across southern areas as you head into Wednesday. But again, it's just this time of year with a low sun angle. We never really get good air quality days this time of year. Looking at precipitation, we have some light precipitation with that front expected through the midweek period. This is probably more Tuesday into Wednesday. Heaviest amounts in these blue shades across portions of Idaho, over 1 inch of precipitation, which could translate to over 1 foot of snow in some areas. Lighter amounts, the second shade of green, is basically 1/10 to 1/4 inch across parts of the Wasatch, and equal amounts across parts of Nevada. Then it tapers off as you head further south. So as we get further down the road, Thursday, December 22nd, you can see that we have dry air through most of the area. The next front pushes into the Pacific Northwest. Dispersion conditions still fairly poor across many areas except for southern locations, which will see more sun. As we get into Friday, that next storm system really intensifies as it pushes into the northern half of the Great Basin, all of Idaho and Wyoming, and the northern third of Nevada and Utah. We do see some improvement in southern areas with better dispersion, both transport winds being the main feature. That'll help the ventilation index a little bit, and we should explain this ventilation index on the right-hand side. Combines both horizontal transport winds and vertical mixing heights. The closer you are to the yellows and whites, the better your air quality. The more you get towards the reds and purples, the worse. And then Saturday, you can see quite a stormy pattern across a good portion of the Great Basin, especially eastern areas. Look at that ventilation index. Look how it clears out due to those strong transport winds and also that good vertical mixing, which you typically get when you're under a trough of low pressure. On Saturday, that system moves out. Another system rapidly approaches with increasing clouds and moisture across the western portion of the Great Basin. Ventilation index gets a little worse, but we don't see that much in the way of purple. So this is actually pretty good for the time of year. And that is for this upcoming Sunday. Now, if we look at precipitation over Thursday and Friday, we see about a quarter-inch across the northern half of Nevada, maybe locally quarter to a half-inch across the higher terrain of the Wasatch and Uintas, but very little south of there, and significant amounts, about a quarter and a half inch across a good portion of the mountains of Idaho, and even close to an inch across the Tetons of Wyoming. A bit further down the road for the holiday period, December 26th to January 1st, and you can see through here that cooler than normal signal across the northern portion of the Great Basin, more normal or slightly above normal temperature-wise to the south. Precipitation-wise, we stay in a wetter than normal pattern for Idaho and northern half of Nevada and Utah as we go into that period. And this is a fairly wet period this time of year on average, so being a little bit wetter than normal indicates that we'll probably have weather systems coming through every couple of days or so. This concludes our smoke briefing. Our next briefing will be coming up for this coming Friday. Have a great week.